Hello guys, I hope you all are doing good. I am Vishali Kikan and we are discussing the VLSI technology. In that we are going to discuss the etching. Okay, so we have already discussed the introduction towards the etching in the previous video. I hope you all have seen that video. If not, I recommend you to watch it first. Now, as I promised in the last video, I am going to discuss various terminologies first. So today in this video, we are going to discuss these all terminologies. First is etch rate, then selectivity, etch uniformity, etch profile, wet etch, dry etch, RIE and the endpoint. Okay, so I have already gave you the introduction towards the wet etch and the dry etch. Okay, what is the comparison between the two? Okay, where wet etch is used and where dry etch is used. Okay, we will be seeing it also again when I am going to discuss about wet etch and dry etch in detail. So first of all, etch rate. What is etch rate? Etch rate is the measure of how fast my etching is occurring. So what was etching? Etching was the removal of a material from the surface. So etch rate measures how fast a material is removed from the surface. Okay, so as it is mentioned here, etch rate is the measure of how fast the material is removed from the surface. So you can see before etch, the material is having the depth D0 and after etch the material is having the depth D1. Okay, so this OD is the depth of the material that is etched. So you can see it here that etch rate will be equal to the material depth that is removed per unit time. So OD, the depth that is removed is OD. Okay, so this is the removed portion and from here I can calculate the etch rate. Okay, so etch rate is OD upon T. It is measured in the angstrom per minute. Okay, so etch rate is measured in angstrom per minute. So what is OD? OD can be measured from subtracting D1 from D0. Okay, so OD is equal to D0 minus D1. Okay, so this is how I can put here D0 minus D1 and I can divide it by time because actually what I know? Actually I know what is my initial depth and what is my final depth after etching. I can use both of them and I can find out the etch rate. So I hope now you understood the etch rate. So this is the example. So etch rate is equal to the thickness change after the etching upon the etching time. So now here if I have the PETEOS polysilicate glass film, so here in the 1 minute in 6:1 BOE at 22 degrees Celsius. So don't worry about these terms. I am going to discuss about the etching process in detail. Then you will be understanding all of the terms. Okay. So before etch, we have the thickness to be 1.7 micrometer and after etch we have the thickness to be 1.1 micrometer. And which type of etching I have used? I have used the wet etching. So the etch rate will be equal to the thickness before etch subtracted by the thickness after etch. So before etch we have 1.7 micrometer. If I convert it into the angstrom, because I have to find out the final answer in the angstrom. So 1.7 micrometer will be converted into 17,000 angstrom. Okay, similarly 1.1 micrometer will be equal to 11,000 angstrom. What was the time? The time was 1 minute. Okay, so the etch rate will be equal to 17,000 minus 11,000 upon 1, which is equal to 6,000 angstrom per minute. I hope now you understood very clearly what is etch rate. Now coming to the etch uniformity. If I am using any etchant to remove a material, so this material should be removed all of the surface with a perfect uniformity. So at a particular location, so let's suppose this is the surface. At this point, if the depth is like, let's suppose 1000 angstrom, so at this surface also the depth should be 1000 angstrom. At all of the points the depth should be equal. Okay, so if I am removing it equally, so it will be called a uniform etching. Okay, if at a particular point the depth is less, at a particular point the depth is more, after the etching I am talking about. Okay, So at the next point the depth is again less, at the next point the depth is more. So this is the non-uniform etching. So I hope now you understood it. So etch uniformity is a measure of the process repeatability. So how the process is repeated over the whole surface within the wafer also, wafer to wafer also. If I am talking about the batch process, I will be talking about the wafer to wafer repeatability also. Okay, so thickness measurements are made before and the after etching process at different points on the wafer. If I have more and more measure points, I will be calculating the uniformity with more and more accuracy. So I will be using the standard deviation as a normal definition. So standard deviation measurements I will be doing and I will be finding out the uniformity with respect to the standard deviation. I hope now you understand the standard deviation. I will be discussing it also. So different definitions will give me the different results. If I am using standard deviation, if I am using mean, if I am using the actual distance from the actual point, so all of them will be giving me different uniformity value. So I have to stick on one parameter, and if I am finding out the uniformity according to the standard deviation, then for all of the wafer I will be finding out the uniformity according to the standard deviation. So what is standard deviation? I hope you remember it is the subtraction of the mean from each of the measurement points. So first of all I have to find out mean. I will be subtracting the mean from each of the measurement point. I will be taking their square, adding all of the points like that and dividing it with the n minus 1, where n is the number of measurement points. So now after that I will be taking the under root. So this is giving me the standard deviation of non-uniformity. How much standard deviation we are having, how much our depth is deviating from the standard point. Okay, so this is the measure. So where mean is the summation of all of the measure point divided by the total number of the measure points. So this is the formula to find out mean. Okay, so now coming to the maximum to minimum uniformity. So how I can find out the maximum to minimum uniformity? So I calculate the non-uniformity. Okay, so how I can calculate the non-uniformity? Non-uniformity can be calculated by subtracting the maximum and the minimum value. So I am subtracting the minimum value from the maximum value, and this is how I am calculating the H non-uniformity. If I want to find out it in percentage, I will be finding out the average H rate also and the maximum H rate, minimum H rate as well. So the non-uniformity percentage can be calculated as the maximum H rate subtracted by the minimum H rate divided by twice of the average H rate. So I hope now you understood how I can calculate the non-uniformity as the percentage and how I can find out the maximum minus minimum uniformity. Okay, so now coming to the selectivity. Selectivity is a very important parameter. Okay, so if I am using a chemical or any physical process, this process should be selected to a particular material. For suppose I have silicon, over the silicon I have silicon dioxide layer. Okay, and I want to remove the silicon dioxide layer only. Okay, so for that my chemical or the physical process that I am using, it must be selective to the silicon dioxide only. Okay, as soon as it reaches the silicon surface, it should not do the etching process. Okay, it should be completely avoiding the etching of the silicon surface, and it should be completely doing the etching of the silicon dioxide surface. This is what we want, and this is what is the parameter which is called the selectivity. We want highest selectivity, but practically it is not possible to get a very high selectivity. So we use various methods to increase the selectivity. Okay, like we use the chlorine. Okay, so the chlorine will be increasing the selectivity. We use various surfaces on the surface or of our wafer, which are known as barrier surface, so that this chemical that we are using will not be going in the lateral direction because of the barrier surface. We are making mask, and in the mask only our chemical will be affecting the material. Okay, so selectivity is the ratio of etch rate of different material, how fast a chemical or any physical process is etching out a particular material. Okay, so it is giving me the measurement of the selectivity. It is very important in the patterned etch process, and it will be giving me selectivity to underneath layer and to the photoresist layer also. Okay, so how I can find out the selectivity of the photoresist or to the underneath layer? We will be finding out with the help of the usage of various chemicals and the hit and trial method. So we will be finding out the selectivity, and this is how we can choose a particular chemical for a particular material that we have to remove. We have to remove sometimes the polysilicon, sometimes the doped silicon, sometimes silicon dioxide, silicon nitride, or sometimes we have to remove the metallic layers also. So the etching can be performed on the varied of the materials, and according to the material I have to choose which chemical or which physical process of etching I can use. So now selectivity is defined as E1 upon E2, where E1 is the etch rate of the material 1, E2 is the etch rate of the material 2. So this is how I can get the selectivity. So selectivity of borophosphosilicate glass to the polysilicon is measured as etch rate of borophosphosilicate glass upon etch rate of polysilicon. So we can find out both of the etch rates, and then we can find out the selectivity. So selectivity is etch rate 1 upon etch rate 2. So for example, we have the PET EOS PSG film which is having the etch rate 6000 angstrom per minute for a given chemical. Okay, so 6000 angstrom per minute, and similarly the etch rate for the silicon is 30 angstrom per minute. Okay, so if I want to find out the selectivity, I will be dividing the etch rate for PSG to the etch rate of silicon, which is 6000 upon 30, which will be around 200:1, which is a very good selectivity. So in this process I will be removing the PSG very fast then as compared to the silicon. So now these are various etch profiles. What type of etch profile we want? We want completely anisotropic etch profile. Anisotropic etch profile means we have the etching in the particular direction only. On comparison to that, we have isotropic etch profile. Isotropic etch profile means the etching is done in all of the directions equally. So here if my chemical is there, so at this point I will be having etching in the downward direction only. Okay, at this point also etching is in downward direction only. Okay, so this is an isotropic etch profile. If I compare it with the isotropic etch profile, so here at this point it is having the chemical, so the chemical is having etching in all of the direction. So now here I will be having the lateral etching of the film as well. Okay, so this is mostly occurring in the wet etching. So isotropic profile is done with the help of wet etching. So you can see if I want this kind of particular mask, this type of mask is very useful. I want an isotropic kind of etch profile which is available only with the dry etching. Okay, with the help of wet etching I get isotropic etch profile, which will be giving me a very bad kind of mask, and I cannot use it physically for less than 3 micrometer feature size. So I hope now you understood it. This isotropic kind of etch profile. So now coming to the anisotropic and tapered kind of etch profile. So you can see here this etching is tapered. Okay, so this is an isotropic tapered kind of etch profile. Then we have an isotropic but undercut. So here in this direction we have more etching in the center of the film. Okay, so here you can see in the isotropic at the uppermost part we had more etching, but here at the center we have the more etching. Okay, so this is also harmful for our next processes. So now we have next to be anisotropic foot kind of etch profile. So here you can see we have a foot towards the film. So the film's foot is present on the substrate, which is giving me a bad mask. Okay, so this type of etch profile should also be removed. Okay, so this should not be worked with. Okay, so then we have undercut, which is the reverse foot. Undercut is also called the reverse foot because it is the reverse type of foot that we have. Okay, so we have removed a foot from the film. Okay, so this is undercut reverse foot. This is also not desirable. The only thing that we desire is the anisotropic type of etch profile. Then we have undercut as well as reverse tapered. So this is my reverse tapered type of etch profiles. The film is reversely tapered and here we have the substrate. Then we have the undercut and the I-beam. So here you can see we have I type of structure. Over the substrate we have a material, and below the photoresist also we have the material, and in between that we have the film. This is the undercut I-beam etch profile. Then we have the loading effect. What is macro loading effect? Okay, so loading effect is actually dealing with the batch process. Okay, so if I have one wafer, if I want to etch the material from one wafer, it will be really easy to etch the materials from the one wafer. But if I have more than one wafer, okay, if I am using the batch process, as I am increasing the number of wafers, the etch rate will be decreasing. Okay, so this is the macro loading effect. Etch rate of a wafer with a larger open area is different from the wafer with a smaller open area also. Okay, so it will be affecting the open area also. So if I have a larger feature size, then the etching rate will be faster. If I have smaller and smaller feature size, then I have slower etching rate. Similarly, if I have more and more wafers, the etching rate will be decreasing. Mainly, it is affecting the batch etching process, and it has the minimal effect on the single wafer process. So, if I have the smaller hole, it will be having the lower etch rate than the larger hole. So, it completely depends upon the feature size. Smaller and smaller the feature size, the micro loading effect will be higher. Okay, I will be showing this thing with the help of a picture also. So etchants are more difficult to pass through the smaller opening area, and this is the reason if I have smaller feature size, the etchants cannot completely go inside, and this is the reason we will be having the bad profile over there. Okay, so etch byproducts are also harder to remove. What happens in etching? If I am using the etchants will go on the surface, it will be reacting with the surface, it will be generating the byproducts. The byproducts has to remove from the surface, then it will be going towards the next surface layer. Okay, or it has to diffuse the byproduct. Okay, so in the diffusion process there will be a lot of time involved and the etch rate will be slower down. Okay, so if I have smaller feature size, I will be having lesser feature size, lesser opening area, so that byproducts will not be going out, and I will be having the higher diffusion time, which will be impacting the etch rate. Okay, so etch byproducts are not removing very fast, which will be affecting the etch rate. Also, we will be having lower pressure, which can minimize the effect. Okay, so if I am having the lower and lower pressure, this effect will be minimized. Okay, so the larger we have the feature size, it will be easier for the byproducts to remove out, and if I have the byproducts which are removed out, I have the bare surface again, so the chemical will be easily reacting with the surface, and again the byproducts are formed which are going out. So this is how, if I have larger feature size, the etching rate will be faster. So this is how we will be having the micro loading effect. So here we have the largest feature size, you can see etch rate is the faster. So here we have the smaller feature size, you can see we have not completely removed this material, we have some layer also here. So it is done on the same time. time. So the time interval for all of them is same, and here you can see we have not removed the material like here, and here we have removed some little material from as compared to here. Okay, so this is the micro loading effect. Again, we can have various profiles in the micro loading effect as well. We can have the side walls also. So we can have the side wall due to the deposition of the etchants or the byproducts that we have. Okay, so here we have the substrate, we have the ion scattering that removes the side wall also. So if I am using the ion scattering, then I will be having the perfect side wall. Otherwise I have this tapered type of side walls. Now coming to the overetch. What is overetch? As the name suggests, if I am not having any uniform type of etching, then I can remove the other layer also. So if I am removing one material from the surface of another material, let's suppose I am removing the silicon dioxide from the surface of silicon. So when the silicon dioxide is removed, after that the silicon is also removed due to the non-uniform profiles. Okay, so overetch removes the leftover film as well. So the selectivity of etch film and the substrate should be highly controlled. If the selectivity is very high, then only one material will be removed, the below material, the substrate material will not be removed. So for that I require higher and higher selectivity. So here we can use the optical endpoint also. So it is used in the RIE process. So that also I am going to discuss in the upcoming video. So I hope you will be watching this series until then, and then you will be understanding how we will be having the optical endpoint and in the RIE process, so that I will be switching from the one etchant to the another etchant. Okay, so this is how I will be improving the selectivity. So you can see at the starting, if I have non-uniform etchant profile, here I have the lower thickness and here I have the higher thickness of the etching. Okay, so here you can see again the higher thickness of etching, lower thickness of etching. So now after the end point, you can see this is the end point, this should be the end point actually, but here due to the non-uniform profile, here we have the material present on the substrate. So this also we want to remove, but when we want to remove this material, when we have removed this material, so you can see we have the over etching, that is we have removed the surface material also. So you can see this is the over etching process where we have removed the surface. So what are residues now? Residues are the unwanted leftovers. Okay, so whenever I am using a material to remove the etchant, I can use any chemical, like if I am using the SiO2, so for removing SiO2 I will be using the HF. Okay, so if I am using HF with SiO2, it will be making some residues. The residues are unwanted and it will be causing the insufficient overetch. Okay, so this is the reason I want to remove the residues as soon as they are formed. If the residues are volatile, this is the best type of etching process that we can get. So I am shifting towards the volatile and volatile residues. I want volatile residues. If the residues are liquid or solid, it is completely very difficult to remove the residues, and then it will be causing the over etching problem. So non-volatile etch byproducts we have to control. So then this is the process of insufficient over etch. Okay, so you can see here we have the side wall residue. The residue is going towards the side wall, and here we will be having the insufficient over etch. Okay, so you can see this is the side wall that we have made with the help of residues. This is the thing that we don't want, so it will be affecting our masking process also. Now coming to the non-volatile residues which are left over the surface, so it will be affecting the next processes. If I have perfect anisotropic type of profile, this is a perfect anisotropic profile that we wanted, but now I just have the residues which are left over the surface, and these are non-volatile, so these won't be evaporating out. So I want them to be evaporated out so that the ion implantation process will be perfect. Okay, so it will not be affecting our diffusion and ion implantation process or any further process. So residues will be giving me adequate overH, so I have to remove the residues for adequate overH controlling. So the removal of non-volatile residues is very important. I require sufficient ion bombardment to dislodge these residues. Then I want right amount of chemical etching to scoop out these non-volatile residues. So first of all, I will be bombarding the substrate which is containing the non-volatile residues with the high speed ions. Then I will be using the chemicals to etch these residues. So then I am using the oxygen plasma etching. So here why I am using the oxygen plasma etching? Oxygen plasma etching will be reacting with the organic residues. Organic residues will be reacting with oxygen to make the carbon dioxide or the water vapors. So both of them are volatile and they will be evaporating out. Then I will be using the wet chemical cleaning. So it is used for the inorganic residues, as the inorganic residues cannot be easily converted into the volatile residues. So these are the references. I hope you understood each and every topic that I have discussed in this video. So for the upcoming topics, I hope you will be joining me in the next video and you will be following these references for the detailed information. If you have any doubt, you can put the doubt in the comment or you can reach out to me. Okay, so I will be trying to reply you as soon as possible. I hope you like this video. If you like it, push the like button, subscribe to the channel and also do share it with your friends. Thank you so much.